So who is this training for? This training is going to be for any of you guys who are coaches, consultants, or service providers, and you want to book more discovery calls on your calendar, or you want to sell more things in Messenger. I have a ton of students who are utilizing this strategy, even though it's called the Discovery Call Accelerator. I have a ton of students, and including myself, I utilize this same strategy to sell my programs directly in Messenger. So you could either want to book calls, or if you want to just sell over Messenger, this will work too. Now, there are 3 different success paths that this works for. The very first one is if you have not validated your offer, we're going to talk about the success path that I would put that particular student on, okay? Now, if you have validated your offer organically and you're still making below $15,000 a month, there's a success path for you. And then the most advanced success path is for those of you guys who are making more than $15,000 a month and you have automated your call booking process or your Messenger closing process through some type of VSL, a webinar, maybe a challenge. So there's 3 different phases that we utilize in order to do that. And so what I'm actually going to do is I am going to spotlight myself because the first thing that I want to go over is I want to go over why this strategy works so well, okay? Now, the reason that it works is because there's 4 elements that we absolutely have to master, okay? 1 is evidence-based content. That is proof, right? Have you guys noticed that a lot of people are copying other people's content? It's not enough to just go live and teach people how to do something because people think, well, he just got that from Alex Hormozy or she just got that from Rachel Peterson. We need to work in evidence-based content, okay? There are 2 different types of something that a lot of gurus call prolific content. This is going to be that long form content. I see so many people wasting their time doing those short form videos. I know, I get it. Short form 60 videos gives you an out, gives you an easy to say you're doing video content. But I guarantee you those 60-second videos are not doing you or your clients any good. And so if you are on the hamster wheel of doing a lot of content in this training, you're going to figure out the key to making content work for you. But there is a place for that short form content, but it is not going to be what we're going to be talking about today because you have to master these things first. So you have your evidence-based content. Next, we use a system that is inbound prospecting, okay? A lot of you guys hear about outbound prospecting, sending cold emails, sending cold DMs. That is not what we do. We want prospects to come to us. We want inbound prospecting. This is what's going to skyrocket our ad spend from getting 2 to 3 return on ad spend to 30 to 40 times. This is super important. I have an agency client. We were spending $10,000, $11,000 a month for her to make $50,000, $60,000. I stepped into where her agency left off. I implemented this system that we're talking about today. I was able to bring down her ad spend to $5,700 a month, and I was able to double her conversions. I took her from $60,000 a month to $121,000 a month by cutting her ad spend in half. I'm telling you guys, this strategy is super, super powerful. The next thing is helpful follow-up. We have to learn how to do that. And lastly, bird's eye view content, because this is going to give our prospects the clarity that they need in order to move forward. If people are not booking calls with you, if people are not having conversations, if people are not buying, it's because they lack clarity on if you can really help them. And so these are the 4 main components of why my Discovery Call Accelerator strategy works. Now, all 4 of these things can be mastered. I go really deep inside the organic marketing sprint. I tell you how to have conversations in Messenger. I tell you how to follow up. I show you how to create this evidence-based content. I show you how to create this bird's eye content. There is a specific framework that you have to follow. That is all the first part that's going to make this entire strategy work. Why? Facebook advertising, YouTube advertising, LinkedIn advertising. It is all organic content with money on it. That's all advertising is. And so if we have not learned how to master these 4 things, do you think throwing a couple of bucks on something is actually going to work? No, of course not, right? Had a really good question just now. Melanie says, is this low ticket or a high ticket offer? I'm specifically talking about a high ticket offer, but I am using the exact same strategy to sell my $7 program. As a matter of fact, after I sold out my $7 program, after I sold out my high ticket programs, my agency and my beta for what now is Lean on Laurel, I utilized this exact same strategy to sell the first 400 seats into my $7 coaching program. So it does not matter whether, like I said, this strategy works whether you want to book calls or whether you want to close people in Messenger. Now let's take a look at the pros, because this is super important before we get into what the strategy actually looks like. Let's look at the pros. It's anti-fragile when it comes to the advertising platform. What happened in 2021? The iOS update came. Everyone who was relying on conversions and pixels, they had to stop running their ads. Not my agency clients. We were right on track to make some of that. We were able to take advantage of some of the lowest ad costs ever, because so many people had to turn off their ads and fix everything about their pixel because they had to get their domain verified and all of that, while my clients were still rocking and rolling. Another pro of this strategy, I just talked about it a little bit a while ago, higher dollar per lead. This will lower your ad spend, okay? If you're running a VSL funnel, webinar funnel, as you guys know, those leads are the most expensive in the industry. You're going to spend $20, $25 per webinar lead. Utilizing this strategy, you could actually lower the cost per lead for that, okay? So that's the magic of this strategy. You're also going to get higher quality leads, and this strategy runs on something that's called pipeline equity. We're going to touch just a little bit on that because you have to understand pipeline equity. A lot of people are just throwing money at ads and it's all sales content. Well, you're like, well, Laurel, what else would you run ads for? Now, pipeline equity works both organically and it works with paid ads, okay? Pipeline equity is the amount of goodwill that we have stored with our audience, okay? Let me explain. I'll use myself as an example. Whenever I first started my business back in April of 2018, I did nothing but go live, give value, and have messenger conversations for free, even booked 70 free strategy calls, never pitched a thing. I did that from April all the way to midsummer, didn't have anything to sell. Guess what happened the first time I made a pitch on my Facebook profile? Because of pipeline equity, I had a ton of people raising their hands saying, yes, I want you to do my ads for me. Why? Their guards were down because I wasn't pitch all the time. How many of you guys know someone on your Facebook friends list? You literally just scroll by every time they post something because you know it's a pitch for something. It's pitch, right? Pipeline equity says, if we lead with a ton of goodwill, every once in a while, we can make a pitch and people are going to take us up on it because we have built up so much goodwill. It's reciprocation. We do the same thing with this particular ad strategy. A lot of you guys are so confused over my power content strategy. What do you think my power content strategy is? And why do you think that there's 3 pieces of power content? There was a little book that I read whenever I first started, and it was by Gary Vaynerchuk called, it was jab, 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 right hook, right? And it talks about this same idea. He didn't call it pipeline equity, but he was like value, 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 pitch. And that's kind of the rhythm that Gary Vaynerchuk teaches his clients. And so that is how I got my power content strategy like the idea behind it. And we're gonna go deep into why the power content strategy, because the power content strategy has way more than just that one value give right there. Now, one of the things that you have to understand, the more value content that you put out, the more pipeline equity you're building with your audience, the more goodwill you're building. Every time you do a pitch, that goodwill goes down because they're like, Laurel's trying to sell me something right now, right? But we have to have a balance. What I like to have, right, whenever we're talking about pipeline equity, I like to have a lot of goodwill. And this is the way that I build my ad strategy too, but I'm going to show you guys how to actually sell without selling. That's why a lot of people love this strategy, is because this strategy is focused on value first, and it actually sells more than the people who are pitch. So this is the way that I like my goodwill, right? My goodwill content. And I like my pitch content about this. So you can see how my graph is. Most people's graph actually looks like this. It's opposite. And that's why so many people are turned off by ads. Okay. So let's flip this around. Let's look at what a traditional system looks like, right? A lot of us have been taught if we have a high ticket offer or a low ticket offer, we're mainly talking about high ticket offers here, but to me, a conversation to sell whatever is a conversation to sell whatever, right? A traditional funnel says that we have to have an opt-in page. The opt-in page takes us to a webinar play page, right? The webinar play page takes us to an application. The application takes us to a calendar, and the calendar takes us to a call, right? This is what I would call the top of the triangle, right? This will get us the highest quality type of client. It will prevent bad people from getting on that call, right? Does that make sense to everybody? This entire funnel is built with a friction point here, right? They got to give their name and email. Friction point number 2, they have to watch a training. Friction point here, they have to fill out an application. Friction point here, they have to book a calendar. And then boom, they have to pick a time to get on a call. That is a lot of friction points, right? This is what we build in success path number 3, but it is only after we have the cash flow to be able to do this, right? You're going to pay anything from $10 to $25 a lead for a webinar or a VSL. How many of you guys have ever ran a VSL webinar? Leads are expensive. I mean, you could get lucky and they can get lower, but check this out, right? If you're spending $10 to $25 a lead, you need at least 500 leads to come into this funnel so that you could even properly test it. That means the least amount of ad spend that you should have to test this is $5,000. How many of you guys have just $5,000 that you're ready to light up on fire and just throw in the backyard? Not many people, right? That is why it is the top of the triangle. And so I like to do something that is called micro stepping. And this is how I rig the game for me and my clients to win. And I've got Victor on deck here because we're gonna show you literally what this looks like. But the one thing that I need you guys to understand first is even if you get 500 leads into this funnel, only 40% of them are gonna push play, if you're lucky. We want 40% of them to push play, but most of the time, when you're first launching this, only 20 to 30% will push play. And so we have to keep working on this webinar day and night until we can get 40% of those people. Then if we're lucky, 10% of the people who finish the webinar, which again is a feat in itself, will fill out an application. Only about 80% of the people who fill out the application will make it to the calendar. And then again, a small percentage of people might even make it to a call. So maybe you pay $5,000 to get 2 calls. And that's kind of an exaggeration, but you guys see what I mean? Like, these are a lot of friction points that we're Like, think about this. What if we can create a system to have the conversation much faster? In order to have more conversations, we need especially, so whenever you don't have an offer validated, we're going to show you the process to do that and where to find it in the program. We're going to start at the bottom. We need the most volume of people. We need the most volume. We don't care about quality right now. We want volume so that we can test our messaging, so that we can test our conversations, so that we can test our offer. Whenever I first started, remember I told you I went live every single day from April all the way till summer. I had a conversation with over 100 people, most of them in Messenger, and 70 of them over a free 20-minute call. Was not selling anything. What do you think happened though? Just by doing that, I sold out my agency and I booked out my first 20 seats inside the program that is now known as Lean on Laurel, by not selling or pitching a thing. So the way that I built this discovery call accelerator strategy and why it works is not based on theory. And by the way, I've been doing this strategy since 2018. We're sitting here at 2023. I am proud to say that I am one of the only gurus who is still teaching the same exact thing that I started teaching when I started my business. You will see in the comments. If you have been with me from the beginning, let people know in the comments. I see Barb already made the comment. Barb has been with me since the very beginning. I will tell you a funny story about Barb. I got Barb on a phone call, gave her value, was about to hang up, and Barb's like, wait, how do I work with you? You didn't pitch me anything. How do I work with you? So I'm not telling you any BS right now. Like, what I'm showing you guys is literally. And for me, I don't know about you guys, like, I don't have a sales background. I worked in television for 2 years. I am a video producer. Like, that is my background. I did video producing, then they moved me to social media. I know how to make good content. I know how to write good copy. I am not a salesperson. This is a strategy that feels very authentic to me because I am not comfortable selling. And so if you're one of those people that's not comfortable selling, this is going to work really well for you. But guess what? For those of you guys who are more comfortable selling, this is going to work like gangbusters for you, because the amount of inbound leads that you are going to get, you will never have to worry. As a matter of fact, yesterday I told my students, I had a call with one of my students, and I said, I can guarantee if you did nothing but my organic marketing sprint for 100 days straight and made your goal to have 100 conversations in Messenger and not pitch a thing, you will never have to worry about where your next client's coming from. Never. That is why someone asked about my $7 program. Do you know the reason why I started my $7 program? It wasn't to create cash flow. It was to create a friction point because I was having too many damn conversations in Messenger, and I needed to figure out how to leverage my expertise to do one-to-many. I was having too many Messenger conversations. That is why my $7 program exists. It was not to create cash flow. It was not to ascend people to other offers. People think that that's like my $7 offer is the first thing I did. It was the last thing I did because this strategy worked too damn well, that I needed to create a platform where I can do exactly what I'm doing now and teach all of you guys the same thing that I was teaching over and over again in Messenger. Okay, now, what does the Discovery Call Accelerator look like? Oh, before I forget, and then we're going to move it up a little bit, right? We stay with the most volume, which is going to be success path number 1, until you have sold your offer 2 to 3 times, okay? So whenever people come into Lean on Laurel, we stay here for the first 30 days, and typically this happens. I don't promise that this is happening because it's going to depend. Sometimes we have to work hard, and I see Charlene, I see Victor, I see Charles, I see Abby. Guys, sometimes it takes us hopping on 2 or 3 calls to get that power offer right. Okay. So, but once we get the power offer right, everything seems to start to fall in place. Okay. So let's take a look at what does the Discovery Call Accelerator look like. It's a very, very simple strategy. And as I'm going through this, me and Victor are going to jam a little bit. And Victor, do you have your thing pulled up, or do you want me to pull it up? Oh, I have to get you to unmute. I'll actually allow people to unmute yourselves, but please don't unmute yourself unless you're Victor. So the very first thing, so let's just show them in parts. So number 1, Victor, what's the first thing that we have to work on and get right?
Our power content and the messaging behind that.
The power offer.
Power offer, yeah, right.
And I always tell my students, man, that is the hardest freaking thing in the entire program, is getting this power offer correctly. Now, if you're in the $7 program, you're going to find it under offer optimization in the Get Ready protocol. That is why I have you guys do this first. It is the thing is like, for me, it's like, what if I offer to help you build my Discovery Call Accelerator strategy over the next 7 days? Would you take me up on that offer? Right. Now there's more expanded versions of it, but it's literally just a very simple 1 to 2 sentence offer. And then it has parts where like benefits so that you can do this, right? So that you do that without doing that. But the most important thing is people need to say yes to that first sentence, right? How many of you guys would say yes if I said, hey, if I would help you build this entire Discovery Call Accelerator ad strategy in the next 7 days, would you want to build it with me? Yeah, right? Everyone, half of you guys? Okay, cool. That's what the power offer is meant to do. So many of you guys are trying to get too fancy with it. The power offer is just to get people to say yes so that you can have a conversation with them. We're not trying to sell them anything. The power offer's job is to get people to have a conversation. So Victor, if you want to share like the power offer that you did for one of your clients. And so a little bit about Victor, which is really awesome. Victor came into Lean on Laurel, and he was actually coming in for his clients. And I mean, the strategy started working like gangbusters. He's like, I got to do this for myself. And then he actually just hired one of my other Lean on Laurel students because this strategy is working too well that he needs some help implementing it for more clients, which is awesome.
Yeah, it was really funny. I was like, I believe this strategy works on my side. And so something that you may not know, for me, I actually came into the $7 program. I saw your ad and I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Why not? And then it was like a week. It was like a few days, maybe a week. And I was going through the content. I was like, I'm not gonna like waste my time trying to do this by myself. I'm like, I literally reached out. I was like, hey, I saw the pitch of like, I'm doing the next round of DCA clients. I was like, what does that look like? I'm an agency. I'm doing this for clients, not just me. And then I was like, I'm in, let's go. And so it was like a few days in and I was like, let's jump into Lean on Laurel. And I'm all about moving fast. And because if you can implement fast, you get results fast, right? So it's really how fast do you want to go. And that's the level of investment that you're gonna go with, right? So as far as the screen goes, I'll share what we did for our first client here. She's a fitness coach. She has a strong, I'll just set the frame here because she came to me, she has a very strong organic presence already. And that's who I target, right? So that just know that some things, results may vary. So with that. But for her, we actually went in, I'll just zoom in here a couple of times so you can kind of see it. But we were really looking at and how we can frame things for her current audience, targeting first her warm audience, people that she's been building this value with. And that's the best part about organic is with what Laurel talks about. It's all about creating value first and building a relationship with people versus ads. People think direct response, I'm going to put $1 in, get $10 out, or at least that's the promise everyone buys into, right? So with her, we were able to she already knew what her messaging was. So it was really easy to pick this up. And you can see here the first thing, targeting with people that we're doing. We started December 15th, this particular offer, just in time for everyone's, like New Year's resolutions and stuff like that for her audience. So it works great. But it's like, want to rock that favorite dress hiding in the back of your closet, right? We have to be very careful with how we frame things here because she's in the health space and we can't necessarily say certain things of like talking about like, hey, you're fat, like in a nutshell, right? So we have to be able to frame things a certain way and kind of dance around what we're trying to say in some instances. But for the most part, she knows what her people are after. In this case, feeling sexier for your husband, having more energy with your family throughout the holiday season because her audience just feels that tired. So we really did that. Started within the first week or so. We started getting comments and people messaging her.
So I'm gonna jump in here because what you said was super, super important. Do you guys notice how he wasn't using broad, I want to use weight loss terms? Do you guys see how emotional, deep he got with what his client, the overall result that the client wanted? Mm-hmm. It wasn't that the client wants to lose weight. The client wants to look sexy for her husband, right? Like too many times we focus on the thing that's going to get our clients the thing, when really what makes people say, yes, I need this is having a deep understanding of what the thing is going to get them after they accomplish the thing. Mm-hmm. And correct me if I'm wrong. Did we test this organically first? Because she did have a large organic audience. So yeah, after we write the power offer, the very first test is testing it organically. How did this particular offer do organically?
She posted it more of like a story.
Yes, absolutely.
So it was just kind of like verbal. But she got a lot of people interested and they were like, yeah, tell me more. Like, what does that look like? We've been, this is the time and whatnot. It's just also the time of year paired with, so there's a lot of things that went along for this. But yeah, absolutely. She tested it on her stories first and reels, and then people started messaging her already more than what she was generally getting. So then we were like, let's use this and just put some money behind it to her warm audience. So everyone is, I would say, forced to see it, right? We kind of stalked them because only shows so much to so many people. And then we're like, let's put this in front of a cold audience. And this particular one here is a screenshot from the cold audience version. It was seeded for a few days with her warm audience, and they already know her and like her and trust her. So they were starting to comment and go through that process. We just leveraged that same ad and now faced it toward cold audience. As you can see, within a few weeks of running it in just the December month here, 28 comments, a lot of people like, yes, please. This literally leads to a page that has a calendar and a bunch of her testimonials. And it says, click here to actually schedule a call. But you can see the people commenting, they didn't read further. They said yes to that first line, and they didn't read further of like what to actually do. Click here to schedule a call with us. So these are all the comments of people. Literally, that's how good that first line was and how important it is, because you could see people would just message her. So then her setter took over and did her, back and forth conversation in Messenger here to get them on the phone.
Yep. One of my favorite ways to test the power offer, and I have it in the success path. So if you guys haven't dropped your A, B, or C in the success path post that I did last week, you're going to see that in all 3 success paths, the way that we validate the power offer organically is through all of our organic channels. And one of my favorite ways is testing it through short videos on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok even. Like we have Salome, who is in the program. She's a TikTok girl and Instagram Reels girl. And like gangbusters, 2 or 3 clients within the first week of just literally just saying her power offer in different ways and just posting it as an Instagram Reels. Instant clients like that, just from the power offer. We hadn't even done anything else. Like we haven't even done power content or anything. 2 to 3 clients within that first couple of posts, this is guys, like I can't stress enough. Now the power though, and Victor will tell you, Charlene will tell you, I see Margaret on here, is coming to these calls, not only in the $7 program, but if you're in Lean on Laurel, we have way more calls, way more support. Like how Victor said, it depends on how fast you want things to happen. And that's the magic. People always ask me the difference between the $7 program and Lean on Laurel. Lean on Laurel is like, we get to work, we roll up our sleeves, and I help you like literally optimize this language right here. So what was next, Victor?
For this particular client?
Yeah, so we did power offer, right? So we got our power offer. So the next thing is we got to do our power content, right? Because value first. So tell us how did you end up creating power content for this particular client? Because you saw that this power offer worked. What was your strategy for creating the power content to go with this?
So one of the things that I personally do is I learned this particularly from Dean Jackson, is he talks about different levels of content, like before content, during content, and after content. And this is something I've been teaching to our agency clients forever. But I use your same strategy of the actual power content and put it with what is some of the obstacles. And this is why we were able to get so deep with the emotional side of things. What are some of the obstacles your current clients have been telling you that they've run into while they're going through working with you? And yes, the stuff, like most people will talk about all the problems that people have before working with them that they could solve for them. But if we imply that we understand how to solve the problems that you'll have while working with us, it implies that you already have those other problems before working with us solved. So with that said, that's how we looked at creating her actual power content. We looked at like, what are some of the obstacles you've heard your clients say? Like, what are some of the things they run into? What are the things they're saying that they want while they're working with you? And they said things like they want to feel sexier for their husband. They want to, like, for themselves and they just want to feel sexier in that regard. They want to have more energy throughout and keep up with their kids and all this stuff, right? So we just put that, instead of hiding it behind doors, we put it on the front end. And that's how we end up creating a lot of her power content. I don't think I put her power content stuff on here. But
you do have a screenshot though.
Yeah, I took screenshots of what that looks like when we did it that way. So for her, our first KPI, of course, right, 15 cents per 3 play and $1 per 25. She was getting $1 for like 95, or like 50 cents or less for 95% views for her power content, right? So this was the bottom two, you don't need to pay attention to. Those were to her warm audiences, and those results are like, they'll be higher, but we want just them, like the way Laurel talks about it, we want them to actually just consume the content. Versus cold audiences were the top 3 here. You can see over the course of, I don't know, just in February, this last month or so, from January to February 3rd is when I took the screenshot. She spent $160 on each-ish, cost per through play $3 each video. And you can see which one is already pulled away from the majority of the one. This $2,000 one, this is what we're actually turning now into an opt-in funnel. Mind you, this is all done without any funnels built so far. So we're just now moving into the stage of building a true funnel for her. She doesn't really have an email list at all. So she doesn't need to do all of that or pay for anything in that sense. You can see 388 people are watching all the way through. But if we were to just stick with her first KPI, 25%, she's got 2,000 people watching at $167 spent. So yep. I could calculate it now, but
that is an awesome cost per leads, right? Because like that's whenever like someone becomes a lead to me, like if someone's watching a 3 to 5 minute video and they're watching 25%, that was a good question. So Sabine, 3 to 5 minutes is like the sweet spot with power content, because when it comes to these types of offers, we want them to be 3 to 5 minutes. Anything shorter is not a really good gauge of people being like engaged with your content. Yep. And so if we can get them to watch longer types of videos. Now here's where you have 2 choices. You guys can see the KPIs we're looking for: 15 cents per 3 play, $1 less per 25% view. And what I'm looking at with my students who are in success path number 1, especially success path number 1, who haven't validated their offer, I am looking for 2 to 3. You could see below his little thing, 2 to 3 cold comments per video. Here's why. is because we want this power content to generate conversations. But if you are in the second tier, I erased it, but if you're like in variation, if you're in success path number 2 or success path number 3, you might not want the volume of conversations, right? His client might not want to sit there, or he and his team might not need to sit there and say, okay, this person commented, let me send them this value bomb or whatever. Like my agency clients, we don't do the 2 steps because we have enough inbound leads coming into our messenger so that that particular tactical part of the strategy isn't relevant. But I always recommend, if you're not making at least $15,000 a month and you're in success path 1 or number 2, we need to make sure that we're getting the conversations going as well. So I just wanted to like make that point there, because remember, if we're not at $15,000 a month or we haven't validated our offer, we need volume. We need to have those conversations, and we need to make sure that our content is producing those conversations.
So quick update on this particular account since that screenshot in the last 3 days when I brought on the other student like Ibrahim in Laurel's Lean on Laurel. He suggested, instead of going to comments, because we were having an issue with cold comments, cold people coming in, and they would message them, but then that person didn't know how to activate the back and forth because they have to go to their message request and accept it and things like that. He was like, why don't we just go direct to Messenger?
Yep.
Same results. We're getting people in for like $1.60. I think he messaged me. He sent me a screenshot this morning.
Yep. And by the way, guys, I have that setup that he's talking about, power content straight to Messenger, in the power content setup.
Yep. I forgot what he said, but it was really funny. He was like, yeah, they launched yet. He said they launched yesterday. And this morning he sent me a screenshot of, or he sent me the details of it. 2 accounts we did this with. And both of them got people messaging them. And it's for the direct offer too, not for just the power content. So people are saying yes and like messaging directly to like, what do I do next? What's the next step here for us? For like $1 something. So instead of getting calls, they're getting direct messages of people saying like, what, tell me here.
Yep. I have a lean on Laurel student. She's an older woman, and she doesn't want to mess with funnels or any tech.
Yeah.
We have her power content going straight to Messenger for people to get her junior. She's a school counselor. And so she gives it her freebies, a junior checklist. And then her offer is a $500 navigation session with parents. Her entire discovery call accelerator, the power offer, the power content, and all of the boosted posts all go to Messenger, because that's all she knows how to do, is like to respond to messages. So you guys can see, like, literally, you don't even need a freaking physical funnel that everyone says that you actually need. We're building out the funnel utilizing the Facebook platform. And guess what that means? What does that mean, Victor? No pixel.
Yep. Nope. No, don't have to mess with tracking or anything like that. It's a lot faster to implement for our clients. They love how fast we can implement because we're keeping it as simple as possible instead of overcomplicating the process. I remember hearing actually very early on when I first started in business, start simple, get fancy later if necessary.
Yep. It always says simple scales, fancy fails.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that too.
Well, have you guys ever heard, like, it's like the like whenever you multiply like the components, right? Like there's only so much percentage of things that work, right? Like, so if the more components that you add, the more chances that it's going to break. That's why like when people add in deadline funnels and all of that fun stuff, they end up having more issues than anyone else, because things break. The more components that you add, system reliability, right? If you multiply 80, like if something works 80% of the time, right, and you add in another component that works 90% of the time, it actually works a less percentage of the time, because when you multiply percentages, system reliability actually goes down. Yep. And so that's why that's my macro belief, and why I build all of these strategies in micro steps, because it keeps it reliable, it keeps it consistent, and it keeps it simple, because simple scales.
And I'll show you an example of someone who doesn't do organic. That's me. I'll show you my results. Here's where this is where I feel the best part of, like, the results do vary, and it depends how fast you implement. So I implemented a lot of this really fast for our clients. And then I was like, I need to start doing it for myself. I don't have the same strong organic presence that she does, or most of our clients do. So I was more focused on the ad side of things. For me to really nail down my power offer, and this is why I also invested with Laurel, Lean on Laurel, was because I can do this for others, for our clients, but doing it for me is very different. I'm inside the bottle, and it's hard for me to really see a lot of that, where I may be getting a little too fancy with things. So there was a back and forth. For me, it took me like a few months to actually nail down my power offer. And it's not that I didn't believe it worked. It wasn't going to work, because obviously it was working very like gangbusters for my clients. But I was like, so I just have to, once I tap into the piece for me, it's going to unlock everything. And it wasn't until maybe December, I think, we had our call, when I joined in October, for me specifically, to really nail this down. And this is like the ad that I have running now, that scheduling call for us. And it's again, leveraging the same system I've learned. And for us, it's phase one. Then we build out everything else in phase 2, 3, 4 for events and whatnot. But this is essentially what I've created here, getting people. I don't have as many comments, but I have people clicking through, and I also am targeting a much more sophisticated audience of business owners. So they understand what's behind it. They see a lot of the same offers. And so what we end up doing is, my results, I believe, are, no, this one's still hers. I think this one's mine. Yeah, so this one's mine. I'm leveraging our clients' results. You can see like Taylor is the one, Taylor testimonial and whatnot. I'm not getting as many calls as her, but I'm getting, just because my audience is also more sophisticated. So for me, I'm willing to spend up to $400 per call, because Laurel also walked us through a way to really calculate that. For me, I know, I'm like, okay, cool. So if I'm spending like $450 per call, I'm still positive, based off how much it is to work with us on the agency level. So with that said, you can see down here, I'm getting 2 calls, 3 calls here. This is like direct offer, 2 calls there. I have one. It's really funny. There's a story that I told her. I ended up closing one of our highest level clients in January, simply because of the Hot 7. They just saw so much of our content going, consistently stalking them and surround sounding them so much, that they were like, all right, I scheduled a call, and they invested. It was like, for us, that client is worth about 100K of what we're doing. So it's like, I paid what it says right here, like $66 per call.
What do you guys notice about that? Wait, someone just asked, look, Neil just asked, can we also run a reach campaign to our warm audience? Look, dude,
yeah,
perfect
I got it right
timing.
here.
Look, that was a reach campaign. Look, that he got the scheduled call on that reach campaign. Like, guys, I hope you guys are paying attention. Like, this is like, the results from this strategy are like ridiculous. Like, I showed this strategy to Joel Irway, and he was like, oh my God. He's like, can you come teach this to my students? Like, because I use his power offer, right? That, like, total transparency, Joel Irway is the creator, but he like literally loved the strategy so much, he had me come and teach it to his students. Like, I hope you guys are paying attention to Victor's results, because these are like this is like very like more typical than not, once you have everything dialed in.
Yeah. And it's funny because, again, like I said, I knew what I was willing to pay per call and per acquisition. At the same time, like, it also, for me, it did take me 3 months to get to this point. Once that unlocked for me, though, you can see the results have just, it's like that graph where you see that it started going up and it just dramatically exponentially increases. That's how it happened for me. For our clients, on the other hand, it was a lot different. It was a much more steady incline. And now they're seeing a lot faster results as it's been around, as we've been doing it for like 2-3 months now. But just that gives you, I put those 2 examples in to kind of gauge, like, if you have it dialed in, you're going to get results faster. If you were like me, who didn't have it as dialed in, then the results will come. They just will come a little slower. So yeah, just know, again, like I said before, results may vary, and it's how fast you implement and how, like, I went through, I don't even know how many direct offers did I go through, like variations of it. I think it was like 10 or so. for me. And each one tested at about $150 to finally get to this one that it's like, this is the one that's bringing us the people that we want to talk to.
Yep. And there's one thing that I said at the beginning of the organic marketing sprint. It's not 90 days to success. I know that that's the story that you guys have been sold and told, and like, 90 days, fast results. You guys know I'm always going to be open and honest with you guys. I always say 90 days of consistent work will get you the data that we need in order to create a success path to success. Does that make sense? Like, because that's the piece that a lot of people just don't have patience to do, is like get enough data to be able to do that. Like if Victor wasn't doing the, $100 validation test, he wanted to skip ads skip organic and because he had the cash flow from his clients, right? Because he was getting, results from his clients. So he had the cash flow. You don't have to do organic, but I still recommend people go through the organic process, because the board's flipped around, but like those 4 components, prolific content, right? Which is going to be your bird's eye content of your actual methodology, why you're different, your evidence-based content, of your evidence of your thing actually working, your inbound leads, right? Your helpful follow-up. You have to learn how to do all of this, right? Whether you're doing it for yourself or for your clients, like those 4 components, and that's all in the organic sprint. And that's why I start with that, because if you can master that organically, like Victor said it a while ago, his client already had the organic stuff working. This just added fuel to the fire. Yeah.
This one here is her results here, her call results. You can see the big difference between mine with no organic presence and hers with high organic presence, right? Her direct offer, like just in the last month, 16 calls, 30. I think a couple of those calls didn't fully track. But from what you can see, 16 at $38, her hot 7, she got 2 there. Her like power content, right? Got a call. That was the most expensive one, but that's not set up for calls. It's set up for conversations, but it still generated a call. And then we did a reach campaign as well. We turned it off to go straight to calls, but you can see like you have to test fast, and it's really just how fast do you want to go and how consistent are you going to be with it.
Yep, absolutely.
One thing I would say, I believe this was so this one here, I believe is mine. Yeah. So this is the one that I talked about for my warm audience, right? That I had one of those guys scheduled and he enrolled with at our highest level. I was like super happy to have him on the call. He was just like watching everything happen and whatnot. It was really funny. Because I know him personally too, but at the same time, there's this like people still need time, right? No matter how sophisticated or not they are, they need to warm up to you. And the more you can show up in front of them, the faster you can the faster you can shorten that process for them.
Yep. And you guys read that KPI that's above there. Read what that says. No, like this is for retargeting. Okay. No KPIs to track yet. We want our audience to start seeing us everywhere. That's super important too. I track top of funnel metrics. I do not really look at middle of funnel metrics because I don't care. I just want my audience to see me everywhere, right? Like if you guys see an ad for Victor and you're like, oh, he works with, businesses who have $30,000 or more a month. Well, I'm not really too sure, right? And then you see a video of Victor teaching his methodology, and then you see a testimonial carousel of him and his clients, and then you see another long form post from Victor, and then you're finally like, oh, I see his power offer again. I'm going to book a call. Which of those ads worked? They all did, right? Yeah. But so many people will be like, oh, my retargeting ads are bombing. I'm like, no, dude, retargeting is going to compound your results faster than anything else. Like just because and I'm like that too. Like the people that I have spent the most money with, I've never commented or on any of their stuff. Like I consume it, but I kind of sit silently like a little stalker and then go by later. Right. So like, that's why I always like try to tell you guys, like track the metrics that you can control. And then just like, because retargeting, it does not matter. like retargeting, like the metrics. I mean, I hate to say that it doesn't matter, but honestly, like it's just, it's just, retargeting is just a reminder that you're here. This is your offer, and I'm here if you need me. I have some people who've been following me for almost 5 years now and are just now buying my $7 program. Right? But it compounds over time. It compounds over time.
I think that was it. I added a bonus in here, something that I shared, like, so something, again, here's another part of, I guess, perk of joining a community like that, right? I learn things and I'll implement them, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to share them. I shared like this thing that this script that I was using when someone's scheduled. I'll show you what it was. But I put the actual script. I'm like, hey, I've been using this when people schedule calls with me because I was getting too many calls. I needed to either cancel them or qualify them before they get on a call. So I have half my sales conversation on an actual text. And I'm not beneath doing the work of reaching out to people, right? So I just want to help you guys understand that. We get this entitlement of like, oh, well, I have that going for me and that going for me. And then we end up being like, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not beneath reaching out to people and having this, like Laurel still, like she still messages all these people that message her, right? So it's, remember that. I was like, I cannot emphasize that enough. But this is something like when someone schedules, for example, this is someone that's scheduled actually over the weekend. And it was Sunday morning. I was preparing for the day and I'm literally having a text conversation at like 5 a.m. with this person. So it's literally like, hey, this person reached out, they saw my stuff, they do this thing. I was qualifying them here. We have a call later today. And I did half of our sales conversation to get them excited to show up. Because I think what people might run into is when you start doing this volume, you have a lot of volume, but because it's cold, they don't know you, they're more likely to not show up. So I shared this within the community and I was like, hey, here's the script that I use. I go about it and I really have half of my sales conversation inside here, really just gathering data and helping them out. Like, how can I help? So that when we show up to the call, I'm not trying to spend all that time figuring out what they do and how to help them. Instead, where I'm like, based off of what we had in our conversation, here's what I suggest you do. Either you can do it with us, you can do it without us, you can hire another agency if you want, that's fine. But like my whole goal here is to have you walk away better than you came to us. So I gave that entire script to the community and I was like, here you guys go. If they use it or not, it's up to them, but people will do that, right? Inside that community, I've seen other people share other things like, hey, I've used this software to create our videos and caption them and things like that. And I've seen just a bunch of stuff like that. We all win together and we all end up making the community better.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Like Ibrahim, who Victor was talking about earlier. Well, because I'm not a tech person. Like, I've told you guys that, like, I am not the tech person. And so, there we go. And so like my students actually like take my strategy, like even Charlene, like I'll shout out to Charlene because Charlene's a rock star. She's come back and her power offer is now starting to get raised hands. Second time's a charm, right? And but like the first time that she did the power offer test, she's like, hey, Laurel, whenever I'm retargeting people who are doing this, I have this reverse organic strategy that I do whenever I want to get like people to follow me on Instagram. Charlene was like, instead of doing it on Instagram, look, I did it to get people on my email list because Charlene's like an email person. And that's the type of community that we have in that program. Is just, and this is not just a plug, like this is, I mean, yeah, we're plugging Lean on Laurel because it's a really cool community and I want, more people, like talented people to come in because we're all learning from each other. But my students like in that program are super, super helpful. We have got Charlene, we've got Victor sharing our stuff. Ibrahim like literally did a messenger bot with mini chat and recorded it on Loom for everyone and posted it in the group. And so everyone is just so giving and it's just a wonderful community. And so if you're thinking about, wanting us to implement this, like in the next, like honestly, in the next 7 days, like let's rock and roll, let's get it up and running. I'm going to open up a couple more seats probably in the next week or so. The next thing that we're going to be doing in February is this DM funnel strategy. And so you're going to get to see more of what Victor just showed. He kind of gave you guys a little teaser of like his scripts and everything, but we're literally going to build all of this during the month of February. So if you don't have your offer validated, and you want to sell over the phone or messenger, this is for you. If you have your offer validated and you're under 15K, this offer's for you. If you have a VSL webinar and you're above 15K, but you can't get people to convert, this is for you. So I know we kind of took up the whole hour, but man, did you guys like this? Like everyone tell Victor thank you, because like you guys probably get tired of hearing all of this stuff from me. I'm going to start bringing more of my students here, because all of my students, what's really cool, and this is what I encourage, I just show you guys, I like to give you guys good ideas, but what I really love is seeing you guys put your own spin on my ideas and turn it into something that's your own. That's the whole point of this. Like always people are like, well, you know, can I share that? Yes, everyone, like I want you guys, I'm encouraging you guys to use my stuff. That's why we show it to you. I'm not one of those gurus that's going to be like, I've got this trademarked, you better not do, you know, X, Y, Z with my stuff. Like, no, I share this so that you guys can utilize it, because I do, like Victor said, want us all to win. So Victor, thank you very, very much. You guys, if you guys have any questions, follow-up questions, I'm sure Victor wouldn't mind. I will actually set up a post inside the $7 group that'll make it easy for Victor, so that if you guys have any questions for Victor, I'm going to post the replay to this in the Facebook group. And then if you guys have any questions for Victor or for me about what we talked about today, because we're running out of time for Q&A, because I've got our copy call for Lean on Laurel.
Yeah.
I'll just make sure that you guys get taken care of. How about that?
Yep.
Awesome.
I got a team huddle to head over to. So
well, let's go team. I will see you guys in the Facebook group.
See you guys. Thank you, Laurel.
Yeah, my pleasure.